At some point in our lives, we were asked by one person or another, who's your favorite superhero or who's your favorite character? And if you were to ask me now, I'll tell you Batman. If you ask a lot of people now, I would like to argue that they'll even tell you Batman. And I feel like there's a reason for that. And it's not because he's a superhero or he's rich or it's because it's Batman. I mean it is partially that, but it's not that. It's more or less the fact of how his story is told. You know, think about it. We as humans, on some occasion, often think of ourselves better than what we are in reality. You understand? So when we see other people do good, it inspires us to do good. When we see people actually thrive doing something that's beneficial for them, emotionally and mentally and physically, it inspires us to kind of do stuff like that. Or it makes us believe that we can be on the same path and start to look like that ourselves. And even though Batman is a complete fictional fantasy, if you really think about it, and I mean, obviously comparing it to something like Green Lantern or Superman, Batman is more feasible and like more realistic, even with all of the shit he does in the comic books, than any superhero you can probably think of. Like, we're not talking like vigilante, like Rorschach or like we're not talking about that. We're talking like superheroes. He is more realistic than Iron Man, Superman, Captain America, Spider Man. He is more realistic than any character you can bring up. In all honesty, I'll stand on that hill. I'll stand on that hill. I mean, if you want to disagree with me, that's fine. If you have your own opinion on why, please let me know. But the base why I say this is he he inspires not just the characters in the comic books or in his movies or in the games, but he inspires us. You know what I mean? Like, we look at this shit, we look at what he does, and we're like, damn, we feel you. You know what I mean? Or like, I understand you now, or I'm with you. I'm on your side. Like, I really want you to say, like, to all those who don't really, like Batman for one reason or another, I'd like you to sit through Arkham Knight and actually wait until he's done. Initiate the Nightfall Protocol and tell me you do not understand him. Tell me you do not feel him on some type of way, or like tell me you still hate him after you play Arkham Knight. You know what I mean? And I mean, a lot of people do hate him, and I would like to say it's because of the fans. And I'll be honest with you, I don't blame you. Some of them I don't like either, but to kind of discredit Batman for what he does, and what he has done and what he can do, that's it's a little disingenuous and intellectually dishonest to the character. But that's neither here or there. My point is, Batman forever and always will be a rallying point, will always be somebody to aspire to, because in a world of gods and monsters, there are men who suit up, boot up, and step out into the streets. And he don't fly over them. He actually steps out into the streets and is in them. He's fighting against crimes, fighting against evil. And it's not just him that's doing it. It's his sons. It's other people in across DC that are doing the very same thing. And you know, this is why people tend to like the vigilantes, or the no powered heroes, if you will, because it's really it really fills something, if that makes sense. When you see one of those guys like Green Arrow, for example, like say he was put under, like you know what I mean, like buried alive, he in seeing him crawl out of that or something like that. Yeah, that would be like, okay, like, and not for nothing, he would do something like that because he's a survivor. But we ain't talking about Green Arrow, we talking about Batman. Again, he has no powers, but it's the fact that he has his mind and uses that alone to pretty much get himself out of every situation, to help people, to save the day. You know what I mean? Like, it always starts with him thinking on, what is the most logical solution I can go with. You know what I mean? Like, this is somebody who doesn't act in emotion. That's another thing. A lot of guys, like, they have a problem trying to express their emotions or like keep their emotions intact, or like think without using emotion, and I feel like when they see somebody like Batman that basically thinks logically most of the time before going into a situation, you know what I mean, on some, crazy kuka shit. You know what I'm saying? Like, really think about it. I feel like a lot of those guys really do get inspired when they see him just stop, think, assess the situation, break it down, put things together, and you get what I'm trying to say. But yeah, I my whole thing with Batman is his popularity is only growing. You know what I'm saying? And like the misconceptions with him are also growing at the same time. And this video, I'm not essentially I'm gonna do a series out of this, like an unnumbered, unnamed series of just like Batman yapping. Like, I'm not gonna lie, this is all that this video is. It's just Batman yapping. If you couldn't tell that already, I mean, I'm sorry. Yeah, but you know, again, he'll always be something that we'll look up to when it comes to the superheroes and like what should we do, you know what I mean? Like a lot of people, not a lot of people, but like a lot of people in a community, the comic book community, when they would ask like, or like how the Christians would say, what would Jesus do? Some of them would say, well, what would Superman do? What would Cap do? You know what I mean? Because Captain America is somebody who would give you that pep talk. He's also a very true rallying point. Like everybody in Marvel respects Cap. It's kind of like a running gag, a meme at this point, but it's like a stamped staple at the end of the day. You don't disrespect Cap. When Cap speaks, you listen. You know what I'm saying? When Cap says fight, you fight. That's what it is. Superman is almost eventually essentially the same way. You know what I mean? So comes to that, he can kind of be on the same time. And Batman is the same way because even though Batman is very snarky, he's always angry. And then like when he's telling somebody what to do, it's like, you know, he's kind of an asshole about it. But like when you go ahead and ask him certain questions, and it's like, don't you think about, just going over the edge, and he just turns around and he tells you every day. You're like, what? You know what I mean? And a lot of people, I feel like a lot of people do not acknowledge that. They believe that he's stuck in this perpetual state of, I will not kill, I will not use guns, I will not kill the Joker, but I will let other people die to save Joker. That's not what happens. Joker is a staple in Batman's lore. No matter how many times you kill him, he's never truly going to die. Let me say that one more time. Joker is a staple in Batman's lore. He is not going to truly die. If he didn't die in the Burton film, it's not going to happen. I mean, my bad. If he died in the Burton film but didn't stay dead in DC General, it ain't going to happen. If he died in the Dark Knight Returns comics and the animation adaptation, it's not going to happen. If he died in Arkham City, what is it? Being held in Batman's arms, and then in the next game, the body gets burnt to crisp. If he still came back after that, he ain't staying dead. So for all you out there, if you do see this video, it's like, oh, but why does he kill the Joker? Well, because Joker is the greatest villain of all time. He is literally the staple in Batman's lore. It's not about him being, you know, like, oh, this one thing, the Batman. No, he is Batman's arch nemesis. He is supposed to keep coming back. Even if he does die, he's supposed to linger in the background in some cases because that's how traumatizing he is. The moment you dismiss that is the moment you don't understand Batman or the Joker. I'm sorry. Like, you can't just look at Joker and be like, okay, he's got to die. We all know that. We all know Gotham City would be better off without Joker. But don't look at Batman and be like, what are you going to do about it? You know what he's not going to do. You understand what I'm saying? And if he sees anybody that's in trouble, that's about to die, even if it's somebody like the Joker, he's not going to just walk away. That's not in him. That's not who he is. Y'all can say everything y'all want, make all the justifications you want, but let's be real. You can't make somebody into something they're not because you want them to be that way. You understand? That's really not how this works. So, with that said, I want to end this video with this. He is very popular. Batman is very popular. It's more than just because of, my parents and my grandparents and their parents. Like, it's how much he's done and how consistent this lore has been for over 80 years. And not only that, but it's so unique and it's so different from everything else. You know, comparing Batman and his lore to essentially anything that's not the Shadow from the comics, because if y'all don't know, that's kind of what Batman is based off of. He's a total antithesis, I forgot the word, of Superman, but he was also inspired by the Shadow. If you don't know, look up the Shadow. He's a pretty funny character. If you like look at it, read all his shit now, I don't know. That motherfucker's pretty funny. But he's popular for many reasons. And you know, you can almost name any reason. Like you could sit here and say, oh, it's because he's been going on for this long. It almost wouldn't be wrong. You know what I'm saying? Like, I won't say you can name any reason, and of course that's just being dishonest, intellectually dishonest. But you know, you can almost name any logical, relatable reason why he is that popular, and it wouldn't be that wrong. I mean, he was created in 1939. Dude, your great grandparents, some of you kids haven't even seen Batman Begins. You understand what I'm saying? And to all of those who that young, listen, your grandparents, their fucking parents were alive when this guy was created. And when this guy was created, he was just as ridiculous as, maybe how you see him now or like see some other motherfuckers. You know what I mean? It's just some food to think about. But hey, thanks for watching. I'm not really the type to do intros and outros. So peace. I'm see you in Gotham, baby.